On July 11th, 2016, I call to order this meeting of the Goose Creek CISD Board of Trustees. Before proceeding with tonight's agenda, I would like to remind everyone in attendance that this meeting is being recorded through video and audio technology. Also at this time, I ask that everybody silence or turn off electrical devices. Thank you. Ms. Woods, was this meeting properly posted?
Yes, sir.
And do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
All right. We will now start with opening exercises.
President Richard, school board members, Mr. O'Brien, we will begin the opening ceremonies for the July 11th, 2016 board meeting with the prayer led by Janice Coffey. Everyone, please rise.
Lord God, we thank you for this opportunity to be here this evening to serve our school district. We ask that you watch over us and guide us with your wisdom. We ask you also to watch over all employees and students of our school district, particularly those who are out on summer vacation, and we ask that you keep them safe with their travels and their activities this summer. We ask you to watch over our nation. So much is going on in the nation, so much bad news in the news every day, and we just ask that you guide all of us to be as safe as we can be, and that you guide our nation to try to come together in some sort of unity. We ask you again to bless us this evening, guide us as we go home, keep us all safe. We pray in Jesus' most holy name. Amen.
Amen.
The pledges will be led by Augustine Laredo.
Join me in the pledges.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
You may be seated. And there are no recognitions for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Duarte. Next on our agenda, item number 4, citizens participation. Ms. Garcia, do we have anyone signed up? Okay. No citizens participation. We'll move to item number 5, approval of minutes. June 27th regular meeting and the budget hearing.
I move to approve the minutes of the June 27th, 2016 regular board meeting and budget hearing.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion from Ms. Coffey, a second from Ms. Woods to approve the June 27th regular board meeting and budget hearing minutes. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. That motion passes 6 for, 0 against, 1 absent. Now to our discussion item, Mr. O'Brien, Superintendent's report.
For the superintendent's report this evening, we had a board member ask about districts of innovation. So we have with us Dr. Duarte will be providing that presentation to us this evening, just to become a little bit more engaged about what that's about.
So districts of innovation were presented and passed by the 84th legislative session in House Bill 1842, and this was set up to give independent school districts some of the flexibilities that our open enrollment charter schools already receive. Some of the benefits to districts that opt to go as a district of innovation would include local control, and that provides districts the opportunity to identify flexibilities that would best suit their needs for the district. We're able to customize a district of innovation, so you could select something that might be specific to a certain campus or a certain grade level or even a single campus. It provides autonomy. So we're able to submit a district of innovation plan to the Commissioner of Education, and approval is not required, but there are some specifications that have to be included within the plans that are submitted. And then it allows for that flexibility that we mentioned at the beginning. And some of the examples that a district of innovation can take advantage of is the school start date. You're not bound by the 4th Monday of the month. You can reconsider the 90% attendance. It allows certain student discipline provisions, use of our planning and preparation periods within the district, and teacher appraisal requirements. So those are some of the innovations that districts are given flexibility with. There are also continued legal requirements. There are things that we could not change even becoming a district of innovation, and these are some of the examples. We still have a board of trustees. They still have their expectations established. You still have to maintain PEMS data, your history and criminal history record checks. We have to meet graduation requirements. We could not change that. We still have to provide bilingual and special education services, provide pre-K. Our academic accountability and student assessments would not change. So just some of the examples that there are still things that all districts would be bound to within compliance. When a district goes through the process of becoming a district of innovation, there are certain procedures and steps that have to be followed. And a part of that process is developing and adopting an innovation plan. Now, the board would appoint an innovation plan committee who would write the plan that provides for a comprehensive educational program for the district. And within that program, they could address areas such as innovative curriculum, instructional methods, community participation, campus governance, and parental involvement. They can also address modifications to the school day or year, provisions regarding the district budget and sustained program funding, accountability and assessment measures that exceed state requirements, and other innovations prescribed by the Board of Trustees. Now, within that plan, we have to also identify any requirements imposed by this code that inhibit the goals of the plan and from which the district should be exempted. So you identify within those areas of innovation which Texas Education Code you would not be following and how we would be adjusting it at that point. The first round of districts that have become districts of innovation are the following: Canton ISD, El Paso, Mabank, Palmer, Point Isabel, San Antonio, Spring Branch, and Victoria. So those districts have already been approved at this point. Any questions?
I need to raise my hand. I had a question about federal funding. How does District of Innovation affect any funding that we might be receiving federally?
So if you look at, let me go back to, so there are other state and federal laws outside of the Texas Education Code that the districts cannot adjust. And so within our federal funds, those parameters and expectations would still have to be maintained by the district.
But none of the on the previous page here that you had things that we would be able to have flexibility with. Mm-hmm. None of those violate any of the federal terms.
No.
For example, one of the things, could be that we currently have all of our students set on a distinguished graduation plan. An example of a modification they could do is that everyone would be on the minimum plan, and then kids could challenge up. We do just the opposite. We set a high standard and expectation. They could set a lower expectation, and those that wanted to could opt into it. The idea behind is to provide broader, fewer restrictions on a district of innovation. Therefore, you can apply the creativity as it flows and as you feel necessary, is my understanding of it. It follows a little bit along the lines of a charter movement.
Put you on a level playing field with charter schools, doesn't it?
A level playing field is one way to look at it, yeah, for sure.
Want to be compared to them.
So if the school starts, there was a slide where you talked about the beginning of where it starts.
The fourth Monday of August.
But if you're a school district of innovation, you can start before?
Correct. So two of the plans I looked at, they're starting school not prior to the third Monday of the month. And so within that plan, that gives them that flexibility of an additional week within their calendar.
And would they, the kids would still get out at the regular time at the end of the year, or would they get out earlier? When would be their end date?
Depends on their days.
Yeah.
They only have to meet the minutes. So a lot of schools are going to longer days, shorter year, still get the minutes, 75,600 minutes. So it
But-
depends on what plan they submit and gets approved.
Right, but what I'm asking is, under this plan, could schools go longer? Or that time is what they have to go? No more, no less?
No, you can do more than 75,600 minutes. You just can't go less than that amount of time.
Well,
So
you
they
don't get any
could
more
extend their
funding
year.
if you go over 75,600.
And a teacher would not be able to work more than 187 days.
So
So
the-
you still have to have that parameter.
Would the advantage, I guess, to starting school here would be just another week to get ready for testing at the end of the year?
Yeah, so a lot of the plans talked about, it helps you even out the 2 semesters. They get to get out prior to certain time within the school year. So a lot of them will look like that, or they're able to build in more PD time throughout the year versus trying to cram it in at the beginning or at the end.
So that go in line with our PLCs we're looking at trying to incorporate.
So would that allow you to give students who maybe needed more time, but then students who didn't, say students who were on a distinguished plan, who had no issues, to go the 75,600 minutes, whereas you'd have students that might need an extra week instead of, say, summer school?
So there,
Does that fall within the potential of a district of innovation?
that exists outside of a district of innovation, where some districts will finish school at a certain time, and you have kind of what you would consider an extended school day or an extended school year, and they'll keep your at-risk students versus every single child.
Called optional extended day, optional extended year, which is available to any school district. The other thing is, with the optional extended day and year, you can also apply to TEA to waive days off of a school year. Most commonly, a school district might apply for a 5-day waiver. The most you can apply for, I think, is 10-day waiver to shorten the school year up to 10 days, but you have to have extreme rationale and reasons for the shortened school year. With the District of Innovation, I don't think the rationale is necessary to apply for waivers for shortened years.
And we've been doing that here in Goose Creek. We've got a waiver for up to 5 days. We've been using 3 days each year for professional development.
Have we seen enough benefit to consider doing something like this?
It's fairly new. Really, the only thing I've seen have been the plans that those districts have submitted. And a lot of them, it really is based on the calendar. I've seen several that are looking at the class size just because of where budgets are. So, they're sitting at 25 to 1, and when they get to 25 to 1, they're going to notify parents that they're over that point, but it's not something that would have to be submitted to the state and approved. I've seen some flexibility within certification. And so I think the districts are really just targeting those areas that they would need a little bit more support in for that district.
So as you look at this list of potential benefits, are there specific things that our district has looked at and said, boy, wouldn't it be great if we could do one of these things, and why not consider applying for this?
I think we've looked at it, but we have not had a healthy discussion on this yet. This is really the first presentation that we've had looking at the whole picture.
Dr. Warte, how does innovative districts and the state requirement for standardized testing or STAR testing, is that affected by an innovative district?
So-
Can they opt out of certain tests?
No,
Okay.
no, that was one of those
Okay.
things that we cannot eliminate, and you would not be eligible to apply as a district of innovation if you are not meeting the academic standards.
Okay.
So the district has to meet standard to be eligible to apply for it.
So it's not a way that districts that have the outcry about too much testing
No.
can say, we'll be innovative so we don't have to test as much.
No, in fact, on the list of continued legal requirements, it says academic accountability, including student assessments, would not be an option to adjust.
And you
Would
might
be
note
nice.
there at the bottom, it says nepotism. One of the things that happens in charters more frequently is one of the downfalls of it, so they included that now as a legal requirement to maintain that even with a charter and or a district of innovation.
Any other questions?
I would like to see maybe at a later date a little bit more detail on the list of potential benefits, kind of a little bit more detail on what each one of those would mean for us as a district, because just listed as they are, I mean, what kind of discipline benefits would there be flexibility-wise? What does that mean actually? I know it says flexibility on these things, but how would we use that to benefit our students? I'm not so sure it's a benefit to lower the standard for our students and let them opt up. I kind of like us having the bar high.
Right.
Reach for it. If you don't quite make it, you still made it.
And like I said, a lot of the plans that are in place, they're not hitting every single area. They're kind of picking and choosing those that they feel would be most beneficial. But we certainly can look at all of those.
That's what I would like to see maybe is, some examples of things that we would do here in our district that this flexibility would really become beneficial for us.
Okay.
How would we implement this in order to provide something better for our students?
So it's, I think Dr. Duarte referenced it, and you just mentioned it, but what are the benefits, and what is the application of the benefits? A couple of superintendents I've spoken to directly said, well, we're only doing it for the calendar. But the unique thing about it is you don't apply for the District of Innovation for just the calendar. You apply for the entire process, so you would be potentially waiving whatever flexibility there might be, or you'd be embracing whatever flexibility there might be. For example, maybe they start off with a board workshop where they identify we want to apply the calendar, the late start date for the calendar or early start date for the calendar. And then they work into it in September or October throughout the year and add another component, I know at least one district, neighboring district to us, is planning on doing it that degree. Dr. Duarte found the ones that have already been sent the paperwork off to TEA, and as the commissioner stated, we don't approve them. We just acknowledge that you've applied to become a district of innovation. So it's that's another unique component of this. We just have to notify them, and you as a board have to adopt the concept of district of innovation. And then once again implementing what parts of the benefits that we wish to utilize.
Well, I'd like, go ahead. I would support Jessica's comment. I mean, I would like us to look into it and see what flexibility, what pieces of it would interest Goose Creek. But I would make a recommendation if we need to probably get on that pretty quick, because if we do decide we want to do anything on this, we need to have it done before December 31st when the legislature meets in January, because they are going to change it. That's the rumor. So just FYI, let's throw it out there.
And it's good for 5 years. So
That's why you wanna get
when
it
you
before
apply, you can keep it for 5 years. You can rescind at any point. You can adjust at any point also.
So 3 districts had it in effect this past year. The other names on there, I think up to 8 or 10, those have been added since this past school year to apply for the upcoming school year. And then I have heard numbers such as around 40 or 50 schools intend to utilize it this school year. So it is, like Dr. Duarte said, in the infancy stages of it. With the 3 districts that they're on here, utilize it as a pilot year this year. Spring Branch, San Antonio, and I'm not sure what the third one was. Do you recall?
It was El Paso.
El Paso.
I think so.
Thank you. Yes.
I think it's a great idea. I find it very ironic that a public school district has to apply for it to be treated like a charter. I'm not just, a charter gets all this flexibility up front, and a public school district has to apply and get the board to approve it to be treated under those rules. And that's just a comment, not directed at the administration. I just, in case any legislature is bored and wants to listen to our board meeting, they can know my thoughts on that. So.
I'd like to know what, it doesn't seem to have any really real negatives. So.
No, I mean, they really just say it does give you flexibility as a district to meet your individual needs in certain areas.
Especially with the PLC training, we're really trying to implement and processes in place. I mean, it looks like you can use that to that advantage.
And it's a very specific process. There's got to be community input. It's
Community,
a 30-day
community,
window that we've got to keep it at before we do our approval process. So there is a very, very detailed and very specific procedure we have to follow.
I think the next time we have a presentation, I would like to see the kind of like the timeline, what would all it would entail.
And I don't need, and I'm not asking for like super detail of everything that we're going to do if we were to choose to go this route. I mean, just maybe a little bit more examples of each one. How would our calendar change in reality? I'm, asking maybe as a layperson because I don't make the calendar and understand all the details of it every year. I know it's crazy because you do work with minutes for students, which is totally different than what you're working for teachers. So, just some details on what you would see this doing to us, in the nearest future. And then, if we were to go forward and do it and we have 5 years to deal with it, what would be some other things that we would implement? And I don't have to have them all at one time, just, some updates
Some
on that.
ideas.
Or even some emails would be fine.
I just had one question, and it kind of reiterates what everyone else has said, is that my question is always, if you're going to build something, you start from the foundation, but where did we get the idea and why do we think that it's going to work in this district like these districts? I mean, is it taking us a big advantage? I saw the continued potential benefits, but I mean, years and years we've always had someone come up and bring up an idea of something. Oh, this the next great grape that's gonna make the best wine, and wind up being sour. So that's what I'd like to understand more about, where the idea came from. Was it presented to us, or was it something we went out looking for?
Mr. Sampson, this presentation was requested by a member of the board to be made tonight by administration.
Okay.
Okay. So this wasn't an initiative of the administration, if my understanding is correct. This was a board requested presentation.
I made the request.
Oh, okay.
And at the Region 4 meeting with our current Commissioner of Education, a couple of superintendents talked about public education and some of the concerns they had, and basically the commissioner told them, if you have concerns and you haven't done a district of innovation yet, because they're complaining about charter schools, he goes, then don't complain. So that was kind of
Where it came from.
and it's been around a year. It's been around for about a year, a little over a year and a half. Well, this is the first full year. 15, 16 years the first year. There's only like 2 or 3 districts. So it's been out there, but most of the districts are just now starting to really look into it and see if it's worth a benefit to them. So that's what I was hoping that we would have this presentation and we could.
So we do have those models set for us, the districts that did it as a pilot year this past year, and then we have the districts that are bringing it on now. And so the wheels are in motion for us to evaluate and present to you the process and the benefits in more detail. It would be a board resolution. Y'all are all familiar with that process. So. Other questions?
Anything else?
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Duarte. Moving on to item number 7, our action items. A, consideration of consent agenda. Mr. O'Brien.
All right. Consent agenda item number 1, purchase of Waterford Smart Start Professional Development Services Curriculum and Classroom Toolbox for pre-kindergarten. Number 2, purchase of Waterford Early Learning Professional Development Service Curriculum and Site License for kindergarten through 2nd grade. Number 3, approved donation by the J.J. Watts Foundation. Number 4, renewal for educators' legal liability, general liability, employee benefit liability, law enforcement liability, and crime coverages. Number 5, proposal for auto liability, auto physical damage, catastrophic, auto physical damage, and inland marine coverages. Number 6, renewal of the aggregate deductible plan for workers' compensation insurance coverage. Number 7, renewal of the commercial property windstorm, flood, mechanical breakdown coverages. Number 8, CSP second extension for HVAC parts, supplies, and equipment.
Okay, are there any board members that would like to see any of these items pulled from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I will ask for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion from Mr. Poppy, a second from Ms. Coffey to approve the consent agendas, items 1 through 8. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Any opposed? The motion passes 6-4, 0 against, 1 absent. Okay. Item B, future board agenda items, board training, and board meetings. Does any board member have anything they would like to see added to future board agenda items? We'll let you know that these are still on my list to get on meetings. Accountability report, a summer school report, possible workshop with Dr. McLeod from HCDC, Harris County Department of Ed, a presentation or a report on mentoring projects that we have in our district. Those were mentioned at earlier meetings that we haven't gotten on the agenda yet. Are there any other agenda items you'd like us to consider?
Mr. Richard, I know it's really early, I guess, but I'd like for us to maybe get a report or maybe start looking at other school districts. I know Deer Park, I think Friendswood, they have a later start time for their high schools, and just
You're
based on
talking clock time.
clock time, yes,
Okay.
in the mornings, and just based on research done on teenage minds, I would like for us to maybe look at that as a
Okay.
possible.
That'd be a report on area districts and the bell schedule they use for their high schools. Is that,
For their
in terms of beginning time, it's tied to their bell schedule?
right, I'd like
Because
for
the
us
beginning
to,
would have to be added to the end also. We'd have to
Right.
look at all those.
I'd like for us to look at what the process would be, maybe changing that if we get a report. I'd like to put
What
it on the
timeline,
agenda.
Mr. Laredo?
You know what, that's why I'm mentioning it so early, because I know it's not gonna happen for this year.
Okay, okay. I was
That's
gonna say,
why,
this isn't
because-
early for this year. You're
Right, no.
talking about for possible implementation later.
I'd like to first implement it, not 2016, 2017, but look at implementing it 2017, 2018.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
The TASB board has some people up for election, and I would like to see us endorse Carla Winfont. She is a Crosby ISD school board member.
Okay. And I did read that email that you forwarded to me, and we were gonna talk a little bit about that, how we would go about doing that.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Because we have until August 31st to get that endorsement in.
Right.
Yes. Nothing else? All right. Future board, any board trainings that we have on the horizon?
Are we registering yet for the TASB convention? I know we've got 2 delegates going, but the rest of us?
Ms. Garcia, could you address that? When will the registrations begin? They are open, so we need to start polling board members to see who will be attending. It is in Houston this year. Okay.
Darn.
Okay.
I hate that Houston.
Is there any board member that doesn't foresee attending TASB in Houston?
I don't know if I
Iffy.
can call
Okay. 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 All right.
September.
What's that?
That one hotel room, we'd always kind of
I don't
hang
know.
out.
I don't know if they still do that or not. You can
Okay.
check with Noemi.
Future board meetings. Does anyone have any comments or requests about any of the future board meeting dates that we have on the calendar that's sent out to us weekly?
We've got, excuse me, go ahead, Mr. Sampson.
I was just gonna say the dates that we had stars up by, like, coming up this year for as they complete with holidays.
Yes, sir.
And I didn't know if we needed to have, maybe the next meeting, have a meeting about either counseling.
Discuss canceling or changing those meetings that
Right.
fall on holidays.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Okay. We will now move into recess into closed session pursuant to the following actions of the Texas Open Meetings Act: 551071, 551072, 551073, 551074, 551075, 551076, 55182, 55183, 55184, 55187. No action will be taken while the board is in closed meeting. Open session. No action was taken while the board was in closed meeting. Next item on the agenda, discussion of personnel, elections, 1A. Mr. O'Brien.
Administration at this time recommends James Randy Willison as Coordinator of Language Arts and Foreign Languages.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Ms. Coffey, a second by Mr. Sampson to approve, and I don't have them in front of me.
Mr. Willison,
Mr. Willison as Coordinator of Language Arts and Foreign Languages. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-4, 0 against, 1 absent.
The next administrative election that we recommend is Brandy Arterburn as Career and Technical Education Specialist.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion from Ms. Laredo, a second from Mr. Sampson for the approval of Brandy Arterburn as Career and Technology Education Specialist. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-4, 0 against, 1 absent. Mr. O'Brien?
And the final administrative election is Social Worker Interventionist LaShonda Sloan.
move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion from Ms. Coffey and a second from Mr. Poppy to approve LaShonda Sloan as Social Worker Interventionist. Any discussion?
One thing, and I brought this up a long time ago. Whenever we, like a new principal or a new administrative person, it would be nice to put a face with a name and maybe invite them to the next board meeting so they can get introduced.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We can extend that invitation, absolutely.
Okay.
It's a great idea.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-4, 0 against, 1 absent.
And Mr. Richard, I failed to remind the board of the notification of elections and resignations as presented or included in your packet. There's no vote for that. Yeah.
I was going to say those had been approved by board policy.
Yes.
Okay. All right. At this time, the board is going to recess back into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551074. No action will be taken while the board is in closed session. No action was taken in closed session. We have nothing left on the agenda. If anyone has anything to bring forward? Hearing none, we are adjourned, 10:01 p.m.